Well, back here in the U.S., demonstrators are taking to the streets in a number of cities, and they're calling on President Obama to avoid military intervention in Iraq. Let's get more on that story from John Terry, who joins us now live from Washington, D.C. John, what was the message you saw today at these rallies?
Michael, good evening. They're citing previous infamous wars that the U.S. has been involved with, including Vietnam, Korea, the Gulf War of the early 90s, and the Iraq War of 11 years ago. And they're worried that the U.S. always starts at a very low-key level, but then things ramp up as the country gets sucked deeper into conflict. And they think there's a danger that might happen this time round as well. And that's the message they want the president to hear. Anti-war protest outside the White House, the president sending U.S. forces back to Iraq, and these people fear, boots on the ground or not, the real danger's mission creep.
We're here in front of the White House to say to President Obama, the people don't want another war in Iraq. They elected President Obama to get out of Iraq, certainly not to go back to Iraq.
What you're doing is you're trumping the will of the Iraqi people who don't want the U.S. there, and that the troops should stay in the United States, that they shouldn't be deployed to Iraq, and that the best way that the U.S. can treat Iraq is to allow the people of Iraq and the people of the Middle East to decide their own destinies.
If the United States uses special operations forces on behalf of the Maliki government, it's only continuing the division between people who see Maliki as an authoritarian dictator, who feel left out. And then it seems like, oh, well, he's got the most powerful country in the world backing him, which in my view only deepens and further drives people apart.
The White House is the focus of any anti-war protest because the commander-in-chief is based here. Act Now to Stop War and End Racism has organized protests beyond this city right around the country. But while scenes like these inspire protests as far apart as LA, Tallahassee and Boston, polls suggest most Americans don't appear to be paying much attention to what's happening in Iraq.
12% of Americans would support sending combat troops to Iraq, which is quite low, but we were surprised to find out that 46% of Americans do actually support airstrikes on the country.
He also says the survey showed 24% of Americans aren't actually following events in Iraq closely. Odd in a way, because 41% think an ISIL victory would matter to the US a great deal. The survey also found 52% think it was a mistake to get involved with Iraq in the first place.
No new war on Iraq.
And that's the sentiment here outside the White House too. Keep the number of Americans sent back to Iraq as low as possible and don't get dragged back into a full-scale conflict. And, Michael, that protest at the White House is now wrapped up for the day, but protests similar to that one will continue into the country's midsection and onto the West Coast as the day goes on. Michael?
Well, John, right there in front of the White House, I'm sure if President Obama didn't see it for himself, he heard about what was going on outside the gates of the White House. What's the latest from the president on whether the U.S. will get more involved in this crisis?
Well, he did not see it for himself, actually. He was playing golf today in Virginia, but he's just back at the White House now. What he has said, he's been giving an interview to MSNBC, which was recorded on Friday and will air on Monday. And his main point in that is that it's up to the Iraqi leadership to try and pull their country's politics back together again. Meanwhile, Michael, Secretary of State Kerry is going to the region and to Europe, and his task there will be to discuss politics at the international and local level as they pertain to Iraq right now. Michael?
John Terry live in Washington, D.C. Thank you.